Visiting the town of Pilgrim's Rest is taking a step right back in time to those early days of gold prospecting. Its founder, Wilbur Patterson, who struck gold here in 1873, was soon joined by some 1,500 diggers who descended upon the place. It became another boisterous mining camp. Pilgrim's Rest is not only a living museum, but it's the only town in South Africa to be declared a national monument. And a reenactment of aspects of those early years is a regular feature of the town.
G'day, man.
G'day. And what can I help you gentlemen with?
I'd like some chewing tobacco, please.
Sure. Just measure it. Okay.
And I would like to, I've got a bit of a stomach pain. Some of that gold powder, please.
Sure.
Thank you. Got a strip walk up the gallery.
These tents and huts would have been the dwellings of the ordinary diggers. They needed to be able to move from one digging to another as fortune dictated, and not be bound by structures of brick and mortar. These tent towns provided many basic needs, including a doctor's surgery and a tent prison. It's not difficult to turn back the clock and imagine a typical day in the life of a gold digger. A visit to the gold commissioner meant money, and that meant spend, spend, spend.
And gets a bit thirsty.
Look at this. Looks good to me. That should set you right.
Thank you very much.
You spend it wisely now.
Good afternoon.
Most diggers ended up in the bar, and this one attached to the Royal Hotel was a popular drinking hole in its time, as it is today. The building housing the bar was once a Catholic mission church in Lorenzo Marques, present-day Maputo. It was purchased by an enterprising transport rider and reassembled here. As for the sign, WYBMADIITY, well, it means, would you buy me a drink if I told you? The answer is simply, you thought I intended drinking a mineral, but you're wrong. There were also several female diggers, the most idiosyncratic being Elizabeth Russell, who is said to have worked her claim dressed as a true Victorian lady. Another interesting digger was Herbert Rhodes, brother of the famous Cecil John Rhodes, one-time Prime Minister of the Cape Colony and mining magnate who made a fortune in diamonds on the Kimberley diggings. Young Herbert, unfortunately, is said to have made only a very modest income from his diggings. Pilgrim's Rest ranks as one of the most beautiful gold mining areas in the world. And judging by the many tourists who flock here throughout the year, there's certainly a strong fascination with the place. The irresistible allure of Pilgrim's Rest is captured in its many charming shops and restaurants. Even the accommodation is evocatively old world. Many of these old structures would have been recognized by Londoner David Benjamin, who set about consolidating the gold claims. He formed a company that led to an organized mining industry in the area. And one of the features was this huge reduction works, where the ore would be crushed and separated. The adjoining workshop houses some fascinating old machines and carriages of a bygone era. One of the most prestigious legacies of the mining industry was the mine manager's house at Allanglade, a symbol of power and opulence that the ordinary miner could but only imagine. The interior is reminiscent of the grand country houses of the landed gentry in England. Built at the turn of the 20th century, it had every modern convenience of the time, including the first electric refrigerator. Pilgrim's Rest was the second town in South Africa to have electricity. the diamond city of Kimberley being the first. Pilgrim's Rest claims to have beaten London by 3 days in the electrification race. The Barrys were the first occupants. Mrs. Barry was a fan of the famous American dancer Isadora Duncan. Allanglade is reputedly haunted.
Through the bad times, we've had some difficult things come through Allanglade, some serious ghosts that we personally believe, if you want to call them ghosts or apparitions, that stay around here. We've had lights that turn on and off at odd sods. We've got rocking horses that rock permanently, and we've got some babies' cradles that cradle and move and rock. We even have a particular apparition that has been sighted by many folks or guys that live in Pilgrim's Rest, that to be floating around that is still sitting in limbo.
The Pilgrim's Rest cemetery is also said to have its own resident ghosts, many of them diggers who died tragically in their quest for wealth. Among the children are those who died of drowning, snake bites, pneumonia and dysentery. The origin of this historic cemetery is closely linked to the legend of the robber's grave.
The locals do get together from time to time and we share a glass of sherry and toast the robber. I suppose it's got something to do with the fact that he's an unknown individual and we're trying to just make him feel welcome.
With all this talk of gold diggings, it seemed a perfectly natural thing for us to go underground into the last remaining gold mine in Pilgrim's Rest. Miners were preparing to blast this section of the mine and were busy sealing the explosives. Even the sight of this rich seam of gold ore did not relieve the notion that gold mining is a tough business and not for the faint-hearted or claustrophobic. It was great to be out in the sunshine again. Staying in the sunshine, it was time to enjoy the stunning scenery around Pilgrim's Rest. And one of the best ways is on horseback. Horses and stagecoaches bring to mind another story. This is where Tommy Dennison robbed the stagecoach between Pilgrim's Rest and Lydenburg. Unfortunately for him, he was caught. And after serving 5 years in jail, he returned to Pilgrim's Rest and opened the Highwayman's Garage. The first time the coach was robbed was on this stretch of Robbers Pass in 1899. 2 masked gunmen disappeared into the mountains with gold bullion worth more than £10,000 sterling, and were never caught.